In the vast expanse of the Andromeda Galaxy, where stars burned with an intensity that could blind entire civilizations, the planet Zytheran stood as a testament to the pinnacle of alien achievement. The Zytherians, an ancient race of crystalline beings whose bodies shimmered with iridescent hues, had built their empire upon the principles of absolute order and military precision. Their cities stretched across continents, structures of living crystal that pulsed with energy, reflecting the very essence of their species. At the heart of this magnificent civilization ruled King Zytheran, a monarch whose presence commanded both awe and terror. Standing at 13 feet tall, his crystalline form radiated a deep violet hue, signifying his royal bloodline. His eyes, faceted like precious gems, could pierce through the densest of atmospheres, and his voice carried the weight of centuries of tradition. For millennia, he had led his people with an iron will, expanding their territory through calculated conquests and strategic alliances. The Zytheran Empire maintained its dominance through a sophisticated hierarchy of warriors, scientists, and diplomats, all working in perfect synchronization. Their technology, powered by quantum crystals mined from their home planet's core, allowed them to manipulate matter and energy with unprecedented precision. Warships constructed from these crystals could traverse light years in mere moments, while their weapons harnessed the fundamental forces of the universe itself. Yet beneath this facade of power and control lay a kingdom burdened by its own traditions. The Zytherians believed in destiny written in the alignment of stars, and every aspect of their lives followed predetermined paths set by ancient prophecies. Children were born into castes, their futures decided before their crystalline forms even hardened. Warriors were bred for battle, scientists for discovery, and rulers for command, each serving their role without question or deviation. It was within this rigid structure that Princess Nixura, the king's only daughter, grew up under the weight of impossible expectations. Born during a rare celestial convergence, her arrival had been heralded by seers as the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy. Her crystalline body, unlike the usual deep blues and purples of the royal line, shimmered with an unusual silver hue, marking her as something extraordinary. From birth, she was groomed to become not just a princess, but a warrior queen who would lead her people to new heights of supremacy. King Zytheran watched his daughter grow with a mixture of pride and anxiety. While other royal children were content to follow protocol, Nixura possessed an insatiable curiosity about the universe beyond Zytheran's borders. She spent hours in the royal observatory, studying distant galaxies and questioning why their empire maintained such strict isolation from other intelligent species. Her tutors reported that she showed remarkable aptitude in both combat and diplomacy, yet she often expressed ideas that challenged traditional Zytheran beliefs. As Nixura approached her coming-of-age ceremony, scheduled to coincide with the next great stellar alignment, tensions began to surface within the royal court. Some council members viewed her independent thinking as a threat to stability, while others saw it as a potential evolution of their society. King Zytheran found himself torn between maintaining the sacred traditions of his people and nurturing the unique qualities that made his daughter so special. The turning point came when reports reached Zytheran of a rising human civilization in a neighboring galaxy. These fragile, organic beings had somehow developed technology capable of challenging Zytheran supremacy. The council demanded immediate military action, seeing this as an opportunity to expand their territory. King Zytheran, however, hesitated not out of compassion, but because the ancient prophecies spoke of a time when the Silver One would face a choice that would determine the fate of their entire species. Princess Nixura, now fully grown and radiant in her crystalline glory, stood before her father's war council, her silver form casting prismatic reflections across the chamber walls. The king had summoned her to witness the final preparations for what would be known as the Battle of Eternis Reach, a strategic assault against the encroaching human forces. Though protocol dictated she remain behind palace walls, Nixura had insisted on joining the vanguard, citing both her royal duty and her exceptional combat training. "Father," she declared, her voice resonating with crystalline clarity, "I must stand with our warriors. This battle will shape our future, and I cannot lead effectively if I've never faced true conflict." The assembled generals shifted uncomfortably, their multifaceted eyes reflecting their unease at having royalty participate directly in warfare. Yet King Zytheran, despite his reservations, recognized the wisdom in her words. The humans had proven themselves cunning adversaries, and perhaps his daughter's unique perspective could provide the edge they needed. The battlefield stretched across 3 star systems, a tapestry of cosmic debris and artificial constructs where Zytheran warships clashed with human vessels. Princess Nixura commanded her personal squadron, the Silver Vanguard, their ships glinting like diamonds against the void. Her tactical brilliance became evident almost immediately. She anticipated human maneuvers with uncanny accuracy, using their own strategies against them. The humans, fighting in smaller, more agile craft, proved surprisingly resilient, their organic nature allowing for creative solutions that defied Zytheran logic. During a particularly fierce engagement near the binary star system of Selim, Nixura's flagship found itself surrounded by human fighters. Rather than retreating, she executed a daring maneuver, splitting her forces to create multiple threats that forced the humans to divide their attention. As her squadron engaged the enemy, she observed their tactics closely. The humans fought with a desperation born of protecting their homeworld, their ships weaving patterns that seemed almost artistic in their complexity. For the first time, she witnessed how fear could transform into strength, how vulnerability could become a weapon. The tide of battle turned abruptly when a massive human dreadnought emerged from hyperspace, unleashing a devastating barrage of quantum torpedoes. Nixura's ship sustained critical damage, its crystalline hull fracturing under the assault. As emergency protocols initiated repairs, she noticed something unprecedented. Several human pilots broke formation to ensure her survival, their actions suggesting they recognized her importance. This act of apparent chivalry puzzled her. According to Zytheran doctrine, enemies should show no quarter, especially to those of royal blood. Communications crackled to life as her damaged ship drifted toward the edge of the battlefield. A human voice, distorted but clear, transmitted a message in broken Zytheran. "We seek peace, not destruction. Your princess fights with honor." The transmission ended before her security officers could trace its origin. Nixura replayed the message repeatedly, her crystalline form vibrating with conflicting emotions. The humans, supposedly primitive in their emotional responses, had demonstrated something her people had long abandoned: compassion in the midst of conflict. As the battle raged on, Nixura found herself increasingly distracted by these human characteristics. Their willingness to sacrifice for one another, their ability to adapt strategies on the fly, and their capacity for mercy challenged everything she had been taught about warfare and conquest. Each encounter revealed more about their species. Their fragility made them cherish life more intensely, their short lifespans drove them to achieve greatness quickly, and their diverse cultures fostered creativity that Zytheran unity sometimes suppressed. King Zytheran paced the war room, his crystalline form casting fractured shadows across the holographic displays showing the battle's progress. Reports streamed in from the front lines, detailing the unexpected success of the human resistance. The king's advisors whispered among themselves, their voices carrying undertones of concern. The humans' tactics were proving remarkably effective, and worse, there were unconfirmed sightings of their princess fighting alongside the enemy forces. "My lord," General Vorith interrupted, his usually stoic demeanor cracked with apprehension. "We have lost contact with Princess Nixura's flagship. Multiple witnesses report seeing her vessel surrounded by human craft, then disappearing into a quantum storm." The room fell silent, the only sound the gentle hum of crystalline technology. Zytheran's facets darkened to a deep indigo, the color of royal mourning. "The prophecy warned of betrayal," High Priestess Limera intoned, her voice carrying the weight of ancient tradition. "The Silver One was destined to bring either salvation or ruin to our people. Perhaps this is the price we must pay for allowing her too much freedom." The king's hand trembled as he dismissed the council, though his crystalline body remained outwardly composed. In private chambers, away from prying eyes, he permitted himself to grieve. Days turned into weeks as search parties scoured the battle site, finding only fragments of Nixura's flagship scattered across light years of space. The official announcement of her death sent shockwaves through Zytheran society. Citizens gathered in crystalline squares, their collective grief manifesting as a harmonic resonance that could be felt across the planet. King Zytheran locked himself in the royal observatory, staring at the stars through eyes clouded with loss. Yet beneath the public mourning, something more sinister stirred within the royal court. Those who had always opposed Nixura's progressive ideas now pushed for even stricter controls on individual freedoms. "If we had maintained proper discipline," Councillor Krith argued during an emergency session, "the princess would never have been exposed to such danger. We must prevent future tragedies by strengthening our traditions." The king, still reeling from his loss, found himself unable to resist these calls for increased authoritarian measures. In the vacuum left by Nixura's absence, The council implemented sweeping changes. Scientific research that didn't align with military applications was curtailed, educational programs emphasizing independent thought were modified, and surveillance of citizens expanded under the guise of national security. Most disturbingly, propaganda campaigns began portraying the humans not merely as enemies, but as corrupting influences responsible for the princess's fall. Meanwhile, unknown to her people, Nixura floated through the void in an escape pod, her crystalline body dimmed to conserve energy. The humans who had rescued her from certain death were bringing her to their hidden base, where she would soon learn the truth about their motivations and discover aspects of their culture that would challenge everything she thought she knew about her own species. As her pod drifted toward Earth, she watched through a small viewport as human ships formed a protective circle around her, their actions speaking louder than any diplomatic treaty ever could. Nixura's awakening came slowly, her crystalline consciousness emerging from stasis to find herself surrounded by unfamiliar faces. Human faces. The medical bay of the human vessel Resolute Hope hummed with activity as doctors monitored her recovery, their movements precise yet filled with genuine concern. Captain Elias Grant, a seasoned officer with eyes that had seen too many battles, stood watch over her recovery, his presence both protective and respectful. "You're safe now," he said softly, using the universal translator device clipped to his uniform. "Your ship was caught in the quantum storm. We couldn't let you die out there." His words carried a weight that transcended language barriers, touching something deep within Nixura's crystalline core. She studied him carefully, noting how his weathered features softened when he spoke, how his hands moved with purpose but without aggression. As days passed in the human medical facility, Nixura found herself drawn to these remarkable beings. Their fragility, once perceived as weakness, revealed itself as a source of incredible strength. She observed how they supported each other during difficult procedures, how laughter and tears mingled freely in their interactions. Dr. Sarah Chen, the chief medical officer, spent hours explaining human anatomy and psychology, her enthusiasm infectious despite the cultural divide. The turning point came during a heated debate among the human command staff. Nixura, still recovering but mobile enough to attend meetings, watched as they argued about her future. Some advocated returning her to Zytheran space immediately, while others suggested keeping her as leverage against her people. Lieutenant Marcus Rivera, a young officer with fire in his eyes, stood and declared, "She's not a bargaining chip. She's a person who chose to fight alongside us, even when it meant betraying her own kind. Doesn't that deserve some respect?" These words struck Nixura with crystalline clarity. Here was a species willing to risk everything for principles they believed in: freedom, equality, compassion. Concepts that had been abstract theories in her education now manifested before her eyes in living, breathing reality. During quiet nights in the observation deck, she began recording her thoughts in a data journal, documenting everything she learned about human culture and comparing it to her own upbringing. Her growing understanding wasn't limited to intellectual pursuits. She discovered joy in simple human pleasures, the warmth of sunlight simulated in their agricultural domes, the shared meals where laughter flowed as freely as water, the music that seemed to resonate with frequencies matching her own crystalline structure. Each experience added another facet to her evolving perspective, refracting her previous worldview into something entirely new. Most profound was her developing relationship with Captain Grant. Their conversations ranged from military strategy to philosophical debates about the nature of leadership and responsibility. He spoke of Earth's history, of times when humanity had nearly destroyed itself through intolerance and greed, but had also shown remarkable capacity for change and growth. Through him, Nixura began to see possibilities for her own people, ways they might evolve beyond their rigid caste system and embrace the diversity that made the humans so resilient. As weeks turned into months, Nixura's presence aboard the Resolute Hope transformed from that of a rescued alien princess to something more complex. The crew, initially wary of their crystalline guest, began seeking her counsel on matters both technical and personal. Her insights into Zytheran technology proved invaluable in upgrading their defenses, while her growing understanding of human nature helped mediate conflicts among the crew. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, she became part of their community, her silver form blending naturally with the steel corridors of their vessel. Captain Grant struggled with his feelings for Nixura, torn between duty and desire. Each night, as he reviewed mission logs in his quarters, his mind wandered back to their discussions about leadership and morality. The princess challenged everything he thought he knew about enemy combatants, forcing him to confront uncomfortable truths about his own prejudices. Their relationship evolved organically, beginning with mutual respect and blossoming into something deeper during late-night strategy sessions and shared observations of Earth's blue-green orb from the ship's observation deck. The crew's reactions to their developing bond varied widely. Lieutenant Rivera openly approved, often making excuses to leave them alone during briefings. "About time someone shook up the chain of command," he'd quip, winking at Nixura before disappearing down the corridor. Dr. Chen, however, maintained professional distance, her medical scans becoming more frequent as she monitored potential health risks from their proximity. "You're different species, Elias," she cautioned during one private conversation. "This could end badly for both of you." Their connection deepened during a crisis when the Resolute Hope encountered a disabled Zytheran scout ship. Nixura's crystalline form vibrated with anxiety as she recognized familiar energy signatures. Captain Grant stood beside her on the bridge, his hand hovering near hers but not quite touching. "Do we engage?" he asked, knowing full well the implications of her answer. When she nodded, suggesting a peaceful approach, he trusted her judgment despite the potential threat to his crew. The encounter proved transformative. The Zytheran scouts, recognizing their princess, attempted to capture her. Watching Captain Grant defend her with unwavering determination, even against her own people, solidified Nixura's decision. That night, in the privacy of the hydroponics bay, surrounded by Earth's greenery, they shared their first kiss, her crystalline lips cool against his warm human ones. The moment wasn't perfect. Her structure couldn't process temperature the way humans did, and his touch triggered involuntary defensive mechanisms in her alien physiology. Yet neither pulled away, choosing instead to navigate these challenges together. Their relationship faced external pressures as well. Intelligence reports indicated increased Zytheran hostility along border sectors, with rumors spreading about the princess's defection. Some human factions questioned the wisdom of harboring an alien royal, while certain elements within the human military saw strategic advantage in using her as leverage. Captain Grant found himself defending their relationship not just to his superiors, but to political operatives who viewed love as a potential liability in interstellar diplomacy. Nixura adapted to human customs with remarkable speed, learning to interpret subtle emotional cues and participating in crew celebrations. Yet her presence created ripple effects throughout the ship's social structure. Crew members began questioning traditional views about alien species, while others clung to old prejudices more fiercely. During mealtimes in the mess hall, groups would separate based on whether they accepted the princess's integration or viewed her as a threat. These divisions mirrored larger societal tensions within human space regarding cooperation with alien species. Their relationship reached a turning point during a diplomatic mission to establish refugee camps for displaced colonies. Working side by side, Nixura and Captain Grant developed innovative strategies combining Zytheran efficiency with human compassion. Their partnership proved so effective that higher command began assigning them joint missions, unofficially acknowledging their bond as a valuable asset. Yet with each success came increased scrutiny, and whispers of their relationship reached both human media outlets and Zytheran intelligence networks. King Xylarian's throne room had transformed into a chamber of shadows, both literal and metaphorical. Since receiving confirmation of his daughter's alliance with the humans, his crystalline form had taken on a permanent obsidian hue, reflecting the darkness consuming his reign. The royal court, emboldened by the absence of Nixura's moderating influence, pressed for extreme measures against the human threat. Counselor Kryth, now elevated to chief advisor, orchestrated a campaign of misinformation that portrayed the princess as a victim of human mind control, absolving her of direct betrayal while justifying retaliation against her adopted species. "I have intercepted communications," Kryth announced during an emergency session, projecting holographic evidence of Nixura's involvement in human operations. "Our princess has not only joined their ranks but actively participates in attacks against Zytheran interests." The assembled nobles murmured in outrage, their crystalline bodies flashing with anger. "But we must remember," Kryth continued, his voice dripping with calculated sympathy, "that her royal mind has been compromised. It is our duty to rescue her, to restore purity to the royal bloodline." The king listened in silence, his facets catching the light in fractured patterns. He understood the political necessity of this narrative, yet something within him resisted complete acceptance of their version of events. Memories of Nixura's childhood questions, her insatiable curiosity about other species, conflicted with the council's characterization of her as a helpless victim. Still, he signed the orders authorizing Operation Crystal Reclamation, a covert mission to extract the princess from human custody. Meanwhile, high above Zytherian's atmosphere, General Voreth commanded the newly formed Purification Fleet. His flagship, the Obsidian Spear, bristled with experimental weapons designed specifically to counter human technology. Intelligence reports indicated that Nixura had become particularly attached to a human officer, a revelation that sparked both disgust and strategic interest among the military leadership. "Target the human," Voreth ordered his tactical officers. "Use him to draw out the princess. Family bonds are their greatest weakness." Back on Zytherian, public opinion swayed dramatically. Propaganda broadcasts depicted humans as vile parasites infecting noble Zytherian minds. Artists created crystalline sculptures showing Nixura trapped in human chains, her silver form dulled by captivity. Religious leaders conducted ceremonies praying for her deliverance, while educators revised history texts to emphasize past human atrocities against alien species. The entire society mobilized around the narrative of rescue and redemption, even as dissenting voices were systematically silenced. In the royal archives, however, ancient records told a different story. Sequestered historians uncovered forgotten accounts of early Zytherian encounters with humans, documenting instances of cooperation and mutual benefit. These documents, sealed away centuries ago, contradicted the current narrative of eternal enmity. One archivist, risking execution for treason, managed to smuggle copies to underground networks sympathetic to Nixura's cause. These revelations began circulating among the younger generation of Zytherians, planting seeds of doubt about the official story. The king's private chambers housed another secret: intercepted messages from human space. Despite official policies forbidding direct communication with the enemy, certain loyal agents maintained covert channels. These reports painted a picture of Nixura actively choosing her path, rather than being coerced. They described her contributions to human-Zytherian relations, her efforts to build bridges between species. Each message added another layer of complexity to Xylarian's internal conflict, forcing him to question whether his daughter's supposed betrayal might actually represent evolution rather than corruption. As the Purification Fleet prepared for deployment, a small faction within the Royal Guard began plotting alternative courses of action. Led by Commander Silvara, a former tutor of Nixura's, they sought to protect the princess while maintaining plausible deniability. Their encrypted communications referenced ancient prophecies in code, suggesting that perhaps the Silver One's journey among humans fulfilled destiny rather than defied it. This underground movement represented the first significant challenge to the Council's unified front, though their activities remained carefully concealed beneath layers of official protocol. On board the human vessel Resolute Hope, tension mounted as news of the impending Zytherian offensive reached their sensors. Captain Grant and Nixura found themselves facing not just external threats, but internal divisions among human leadership regarding how to handle the princess's situation. Admiral Harrison, commander of Earth's defense fleet, demanded Nixura's immediate transfer to a secure facility, arguing that her presence endangered the entire human resistance effort. "We can't risk an alien princess getting us all killed," he stated during a secure transmission, his voice carrying the weight of military pragmatism. Nixura, overhearing the conversation through the ship's communication system, retreated to her quarters, her crystalline form dimming in response to the rejection. Captain Grant followed, finding her standing before the viewport, watching Earth's continents rotate below. "They don't understand," she said, her voice carrying a crystalline resonance that betrayed her distress. "To my people, family loyalty is absolute. My father will stop at nothing to retrieve me, even if it means destroying your world." Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. The crew's reaction to the crisis reflected broader societal tensions. Some, like Lieutenant Rivera, argued for full integration of Nixura into their defenses, believing her knowledge of Zytherian tactics could prove decisive. Others, particularly newer recruits, viewed her presence as a dangerous gamble. During mess hall discussions, these divisions played out in heated arguments that sometimes escalated into physical confrontations. Dr. Chen documented increased stress levels among the crew, noting how the presence of an alien royal complicated already strained relationships. Human media coverage of the situation exacerbated tensions. Leaked images of Nixura and Captain Grant together sparked debates across human space about interspecies relationships and their implications for military effectiveness. Political commentators questioned whether romantic entanglements with alien royalty represented a betrayal of human values or a necessary step toward peaceful coexistence. The controversy reached Earth's governmental bodies, where senators debated emergency legislation regarding the treatment of defector aliens. Amidst this turmoil, scientific teams worked feverishly to develop countermeasures against Zytheran technology. Nixura's contributions proved invaluable, yet each suggestion she made brought accusations of espionage from paranoid officers. The engineering department, led by Chief Engineer Patel, struggled to balance utilizing her expertise while maintaining operational security. Late-night meetings in the engine room often dissolved into arguments about how much information to share with their crystalline ally. The situation reached a breaking point when a junior officer, influenced by anti-alien propaganda, attempted to sabotage Nixura's living quarters. Captain Grant intervened just as the officer activated a sonic disruptor calibrated to shatter crystalline structures. The incident forced the captain to make a difficult decision. He confined the offending officer to quarters pending court-martial, but also restricted Nixura's movements within the ship. Her hurt expression during this conversation cut deeper than any physical wound, reminding him of the delicate balance required in their relationship. As the Zytheran fleet approached human space, the Resolute Hope received orders to join a hastily assembled task force. Captain Grant found himself torn between following direct commands and protecting the woman he loved. Military protocol demanded he maintain distance from Nixura during combat situations, yet his instincts screamed against leaving her vulnerable. During pre-battle briefings, he caught glimpses of her observing the proceedings, her crystalline body vibrating with barely contained emotion as she processed the gravity of the coming conflict. The approaching confrontation forced both sides to confront uncomfortable truths. Human commanders realized that defeating the Zytherians would require more than superior firepower. It demanded understanding their enemy's psychology and exploiting weaknesses they hadn't previously considered. Meanwhile, Zytherian strategists grappled with the unprecedented scenario of facing their own princess in battle, leading to conflicting orders and hesitation among their ranks. This uncertainty rippled through both fleets, creating opportunities that neither side had anticipated or prepared for. As the two fleets closed distance, Captain Grant and Nixura stood together on the bridge, their figures silhouetted against the backdrop of countless stars. The human vessel's alarms blared warning signals, while Zytheran targeting systems locked onto their position. Yet in this moment of impending conflict, something remarkable occurred. Communications channels opened simultaneously from both sides. King Xylarian's voice, heavy with crystalline authority, echoed through the speakers alongside Admiral Harrison's terse military commands. Cease fire. The simultaneous order from both leaders created a moment of suspended animation. Ships on both sides powered down their weapons, though targeting systems remained active. Captain Grant gripped the console, his knuckles white, while Nixura's crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy. The princess stepped forward, her voice carrying through the open channel. "Father Admiral, hear me. This conflict serves neither of our peoples." Static filled the line before King Xylarian responded, his words measured but tinged with raw emotion. "Daughter, you stand with those who would destroy us. How can I trust your judgment?" Admiral Harrison interjected, "And how can we trust yours, alien? You've compromised our security." The tension thickened as both leaders spoke over each other, their mistrust palpable across light years of space. Nixura raised her hand, creating a prismatic display of light that caught everyone's attention. "Look at us," she implored. Two species, equally capable of destruction and creation, held hostage by our own fears. Humans have shown me compassion, innovation, and courage. My people possess order, efficiency, and ancient wisdom. Together, we could forge something greater than either species alone. Her words resonated through the ships, reaching ears that had long been conditioned to view the other side as irredeemable enemies. The human crew watched their screens as Zytheran ships displayed signs of internal conflict. Some vessels began drifting out of formation, while others maintained rigid positions. Captain Grant noticed similar hesitation among his own fleet. Ships that had been ready to fire moments ago now wavered in their commitment to engage. Dr. Chen, monitoring communications, reported increasing chatter about Nixura's proposal, with opinions divided sharply among both humans and Zytherians. Commander Silvara's voice suddenly broke through the chaos, broadcasting on an unauthorized frequency. "Your Majesty, May I remind you of the ancient prophecy? The Silver One was meant to bridge worlds, not choose sides. Her treasonous statement sparked immediate reaction. Zytheran security forces scrambled to identify her location while human analysts worked to verify her credentials. The king's silence stretched for agonizing seconds before he responded, "Explain yourself, traitor." In the ensuing pause, something unprecedented happened. Individual Zytheran crew members began transmitting personal messages to their human counterparts, sharing stories of doubt about the war's necessity. Human officers, moved by these communications, reciprocated with accounts of their own struggles against prejudice and fear. The formal military channels became flooded with these unofficial exchanges, overwhelming official command structures on both sides. Admiral Harrison slammed his fist against his console. "This is insubordination. Order your ships to maintain formation." But his words carried little weight against the growing tide of grassroots diplomacy. Captain Grant seized the moment, addressing both fleets. "We stand at a crossroads. The choices we make in the next minutes will define generations to come. Shall we continue this cycle of destruction, or dare we attempt something new?" As the standoff continued, strange phenomena began occurring in the surrounding space. Quantum fluctuations, similar to those that had originally separated Nixura from her people, manifested between the fleets. Scientists on both sides scrambled to analyze the readings, discovering patterns that matched ancient Zytheran prophecies and recent human theoretical physics models. The coincidence was too striking to ignore, suggesting that perhaps the universe itself was responding to this moment of potential reconciliation. King Zytheran watched these developments from his flagship, his crystalline form flickering with conflicting emotions. He recognized the opportunity before him, a chance to preserve his daughter's legacy while potentially saving both species from mutual annihilation. Yet tradition weighed heavily on his decision, centuries of royal protocol demanding swift punishment for betrayal. Around him, his advisors argued fiercely, some advocating immediate attack, others suggesting cautious negotiation. Meanwhile, aboard the Resolute Hope, Nixura and Captain Grant shared a look that communicated volumes. They both understood that this moment represented far more than their personal relationship. It embodied the hopes and fears of two civilizations teetering on the brink of either catastrophic war or unprecedented cooperation. As the quantum phenomena intensified, creating swirling patterns of light that danced between the amassed fleets, the fate of countless beings rested on the choices about to be made. The quantum storm reached its peak, bathing both fleets in cascading waves of light. Nixura stepped forward, her crystalline form glowing brighter than ever before. "This is our moment," she declared, her voice resonating across all channels. "We can either destroy each other or create something new. The choice is ours." King Zytheran hesitated, his rigid stance faltering as he stared at the image of his daughter on the screen. For the first time in centuries, doubt crept into his mind. Was this truly betrayal, or evolution? On the human side, Admiral Harrison clenched his jaw but said nothing, his eyes scanning the chaos unfolding around him. Captain Grant took a step closer to Nixura, placing a hand near hers without touching. "Whatever happens next," he said softly, though his words carried through every speaker, "we face it together." His declaration sent ripples through both fleets. Some cheered, others growled in disapproval, but none could deny its weight. Commander Silvara seized the opportunity, broadcasting once more. "Your Majesty, look at what your daughter has achieved. She has united two species against hatred and fear. Is that not worthy of honor?" Her voice trembled with defiance, yet hope shone through. The Zytheran ships began to shift positions, not aggressively, but cautiously, almost curiously. One by one, their weapons powered down. Human vessels followed suit, mirroring the gesture. The tension dissolved like mist under sunlight, replaced by an uneasy silence filled with possibility. Nixura turned to address both fleets. "If we fight now, we lose everything. If we talk, we gain a future." Her words hung in the void, echoing long after she fell silent. Slowly, King Zytheran raised his hand, signaling a stand down. Admiral Harrison exhaled sharply but nodded, giving the order for his fleet to hold position. As the quantum storm subsided, leaving behind shimmering trails of energy, Nixura spoke again. "Father, I chose love over war because I believe in a better path, for both our peoples. Will you join me in building it? Tears glistened in her crystalline eyes, defying the stoicism of her upbringing. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, from deep within the Zytheran flagship, came a single word, yes. It was barely audible, yet it carried the weight of galaxies. King Zytheran stepped closer to the viewport, his obsidian facets brightening slightly. Daughter, show us the way. Cheers erupted from the human fleet, while cautious murmurs spread among the Zytherians. Captain Grant smiled faintly, his hand finally brushing against Nixura's. Their bond, once forbidden, now symbolized something far greater, a bridge between worlds. But as the two fleets began tentative communications, shadows lingered. Not everyone welcomed this fragile peace. In the depths of both armadas, dissent brewed, voices whispering of treachery and lost causes. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, sacrifices, and battles yet unseen. Still, for the first time in generations, hope burned brightly. As stars twinkled beyond the assembled ships, a new chapter began, not defined by conquest or surrender, but by the courage to imagine something different.